What is up, everybody? It is Wick here. Got a cool video for you today. Lots of bolos to show you. These are all things you can look for at thrift stores, garage sales, state sales, rummage sales, wherever you can find anything for sale. Hopefully find one of them, make some money. Every time I make one of these videos, people tell me that they end up finding some of this stuff, so that's great. This video is going to have a theme today. It's going to be Nickelodeon. Some of my favorite stuff to find are vintage toys from the 80s and 90s, stuff I had growing up. Nickelodeon was a big part of that. There's a lot of people that watch these videos who are quite a bit older than me that might not know what some of this stuff is. Most people my age probably going to be able to pick out some of this stuff very easily. But if you do enjoy these types of videos, hit the like button for me. Check and make sure if you're subscribed. But let's jump into it. First thing we're going to talk about is this Nickelodeon Time Blaster alarm clock radio. Now, I've actually found this before. One of my favorite finds of all time, I found it in a Goodwill for $2.99. It's just a Nickelodeon clock, but it has that, look to it, that 90s Nickelodeon look to it. And this keeps going up in price. I think it was worth about $150 when I found it. I'm seeing some clearly over $200 here. But if you look at it, it's very distinguishable. There's also this blaster radio cassette player, which clearly says Nickelodeon. And there's a lot of Nickelodeon stuff out there that's not really worth much. So we're going to be focusing on some of the stuff that I want to find and some of the stuff that has more value. And it's a bit more unique. But yeah, such a cool find. It's up on my shelf right now. I can't sell it. It's just too cool. One of my prized possessions at this point. But as far as I know, it's just the cassette player there and the radio, as far as like radios and anything that plays sound. So certainly a cool piece to keep an eye out for out there. So here's something I wasn't even aware would have this much value. And these are the Nickelodeon magazines, specific ones. There is this Nickelodeon hardcover bound volume, which I imagine has like lots of issues in it. Usually what happens there, that's sold for $400. But I'm mostly talking about some of the actual magazines that you would get in the mail if you was subscribed. I was not. I mean, I watched Nickelodeon as a kid. I wasn't into it that much. But if you look at some of these magazine comps, 29 issues, $200-ish there. There's 40 for $249. And there are some rare issues that sell pretty well by themselves, it looks like. So this is the kind of thing you could just run into, be in a box at a rummage sale, be in a box at a garage sale, right? People just throw it out. Find them in the trash, thrift store. If you got thrift stores that put out magazines, sometimes you can find these. And a lot of times you're going to get them cheap, next to nothing, right? Like here's the first issue from 1990. Looks like it has a Chevy Chase poster in it. $120 for that issue. So you obviously are going to do better finding them and selling them in lots, unless you happen to pick up one of the more rare editions, right? So it's good to familiarize yourself with some of the old Nicktoons, because some of the shirts are kind of crazy in value if you happen to find them. These are Rocco's Modern Life from 94, $650. You do have to be careful though, because places like Walmart are jumping on the nostalgia train. They're reprinting, old Nicktoon shirts like Rugrats and stuff like that. Doug, you have to learn how to research these shirts, look at the tags. A lot of the newer ones are just print on tags. If it has a print on tag, it's not old. It's not from the 90s. I don't know. Some of these might have single stitch on the sleeves. It's a good way to tell they're old. I think these are probably in the 90s. They weren't doing single stitch on these because it switched over from single to double stitch. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the t-shirts. You got Doug, $250. Here's an Avatar: The Last Airbender. This one's actually from 2006. Looks like $200. Here's the classic, Nickelodeon with the orange hand. From 93, $182 with 36 bids. I bet you this actually would sell for more if you did a buy it now, priced it like $250. Usually stuff like this bids go for a lower amount. You got SpongeBob. Of course, there's a lot of SpongeBob stuff worth money. Here's a Splat City from Paramount Studios, $149.99. Really cool looking shirt, the Double Dare, if anyone remembers Double Dare, $125, but you get the idea, right? If you see any Nickelodeon tunes, Ren and Stimpy, Cat Dog from the 90s, any of these kind of things, on a t-shirt, any kind of clothing item, it's worth checking out. Here's one of these CRT DVD combo units, $800 for one, brand new. It's SpongeBob themed. Not going to talk about this too much because I mentioned how some of these vintage CRT TVs sell well. I think there's a Dora one that sells pretty well also, but you can see pre-owned here with the remote, upwards to $400 in working condition, $375 with the remote here. and you see what people are doing and you see why people are paying this much for them. You got the SpongeBob TV. They're showing that it works by having a Nintendo game on there. What game is that? Looks like the original Ninja Turtles game, maybe? Or maybe that's Castlevania. My eyes are so bad I can't really see. Anyway, that's why people buy these. They make retro games. They want to play their old video games on them like they did when they was a kid, right? The old video game systems, they were made for TVs like this. They work better. They play better on TVs like this than the new ones, and that's why people are looking for them. So the SpongeBob one, certainly worth keeping an eye out for. So if you buy one of the TVs with a VCR in it, you might as well buy some of the Nickelodeon VHS tapes. Some of these are really high dollar. Now I want to say, I don't know if every one of these VHS sold for that much, like this SpongeBob SquarePants here that sold for $9.89. There are some rare VHS that will sell very high. They're rare because they're promos, they're limited prints. Some of them I think might be multi-language. But in general, if you find certain VHS Nickelodeon shows, you can at least lot them together to get a decent amount of profit. Like if you're picking them up for a quarter or whatever. Like here's a Rugrats Volume 3. It says it's a Blockbuster exclusive. I guess that's why it sold for $224, right? Here's a Dora one that sold for $170. Same one right below it, best offer. It looks like it was at $159 at one point. So what I do if I'm at a garage sale or a thrift store and I see some of these, if I'm short on time, I just buy them if they're cheap, because I know I can probably lot them together at some point and get my money back, paying a quarter or 50 cents, $1 at most. If I got time, sometimes I'll look them up just to make sure they're not a rare one. But like I said, at a quarter, you happen to get a rare one, great. If not, you can sell. Like here's 8 SpongeBob VHS that sold for $89. Again, it always depends on what the VHS are. So don't go picking up every single Nickelodeon VHS thinking you're getting like $100 each, like some people do with the Disney movies. For a while there, everyone thought the Disney movies on VHS were worth like $1,000 each. It was crazy. It was pushed over basically by a woman in a thrift store once. I wasn't even looking at the Disney VHS and she came over and she just bumped into me and said, "I'm taking all these Disney VHS." I'm like, they're all yours, right? I don't know how some of these rumors or stuff like this, get started. So I don't want everyone thinking that every single Nickelodeon VHS is worth a fortune. It's not what I'm saying here. Also, I forgot to mention back when I was talking about the t-shirts, it might be worth stopping at some of those garage sales that only have children's clothing, because there's some Nickelodeon kids clothes that people are buying. Here's a Rugrats kids dress, $127 it sold for. Dora for $125. Blue's Clues here for $50. Another Rugrats for $50. I imagine it's people my age that grew up around this stuff that would just want their kids to be in it so they can have the childhood, that the parent had or whatever. I know there's some Nickelodeon shoes that sell pretty well as well. One thing I do not look through is children's clothing, but maybe at a rummage sale sometime I'll keep an eye out for some of this stuff. There's also DVDs that sell pretty well. Now there's some rare sets. Here's something, Tough Puppy. Must not have been very popular around my time. I don't remember it. Same with this one, but it's $499 here. Out of print DVD. Chalk Zone is a pretty popular set as well. You're looking at around $400 new, and pretty good pre-owned. I'm assuming there's one for $350, but there's also Invader Zim. I'll be talking about Invader Zim a bit more in this video because there's a lot of valuable Invader Zim stuff. But the DVD set here, especially with the house collector's box, good money for this stuff. Even this Amanda show, I would not expect that to be as good, right? For the seasons 1 through 3. Out of print, rare, hard to find, it says. I don't know. I haven't 100% researched each individual DVD, but it's certainly worth knowing some of these, like the Chalk Zone, Invader Zim. Here's one, Nick Jr., Snow Awesome. Some of these are actually, past my time. I was already a teenager or adult by the time some of these came out, but looks like a lot of the stuff from the 90s. Is not really that high on the DVD list. More Invader Zim. Let me just scroll here, see if I see anything else unique. Here's season 1 of the Amanda show. Certainly a bolo there with just one season selling for $180, especially if you find it new. Now here's a brand new, almost complete collection, it says. $147 for the Ren and Stimpy. House of Anubis. Again, never heard of some of this, so this is good for me because there's some Nickelodeon stuff out there I am not familiar with. There's Are You Afraid of the Dark? I knew there had to be some Are You Afraid of the Dark stuff somewhere. Seasons 1 through 5, $130. Not bad if you used to find it. Real quick, this Nickelodeon keyboard is super cool. Did not know it existed. One sold for $300. I think the only one I saw listed on eBay was like $500. So a rare piece indeed. Just thought that was cool because I didn't know it existed. There's also things like Nickelodeon desk lamp. Has like the green slime on it that look just like the clock we talked about. Upwards to $200 on some of these. There's a SpongeBob lava lamp that sells. Even some of these, when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles went to Nickelodeon, some of the newer ones, you got some stuff there that, you know, still sells for $40. Like if you're picking it up for $1 or $2, why not? There's a Nickelodeon Nick at Night cookie jar, which is very cool. This one says $3.25. It sold for, it looks like around $165, $189. There's a Blue's Clues cookie jar. So Nickelodeon branded a lot of products. Even got their hands on a telephone. It looks like the clock. Again, I would love to find all of these. The clock, the phone, the lamp, kind of have a nice collection of them. This gets the kind of stuff you could find at a rummage sale, right? If somebody donates $225, $190. That looks like with the box though, $120, just loose like this. I don't think they made any other telephones, right? I never got around to the cordless phones, but still a really cool phone. Here's looks like just the ad for $8, so pretty cool. So I mentioned Invader Zim. Some of this stuff is really good. The DVD set, there's a VHS that's does well, and there's inflatable chair here. But the plush, Invader Zim plush. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying Invader Zim. Now these are new with tags, closer to $300. Here's one pre-owned for $250. And it's good to get an idea of what these characters look like, just because, you know, if you're at a sale with a lot of plush, they're pretty easy to pick out with these bug eyes. And these came from Hot Topic, so they're not like super rare, I guess. Like maybe they weren't a lot made for Hot Topic, but still, they're probably in every store, at least a few of them. And there are a lot of Hot Topics around that time. So here's a Funko Pop, Invader Zim. So certainly worth looking out for this stuff. Another type of plush here, a backpack, figures, t-shirt there, $150, really cool. We saw the Invader Zim plush, but there's also a lot of other Nickelodeon plush that can be rare and that can be sought after. So again, it really helps if you grew up in that time period because you can recognize some of them. And a lot of stuff is still being made, so you do have to distinguish between the vintage and the rare. Just takes time to do the research if you find something. But here's a Fairly Odd Parents plush. This is an employee exclusive, which is probably why it's so rare. Not going to find that very often out in the wild, I don't think, unless maybe you live somewhere where Nickelodeon Studios were. Here's Blue's Clues, $289. Ah Real Monsters plush, $250. And here's something I started to notice when putting this video together. These Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which are the newer Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was seeing some of these plush selling for a lot of money, and I'm like, why? And then I did a search and there's only a few listed on eBay, all with pretty high prices. So maybe these are rare. I don't know if eBay is just acting weird. I keep having to refresh stuff because it's not loading. So someone can let me know if these Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles plush are generally just rare, because I would not think so, right, with them being that new. Angry Beavers plush, $235. Again, we could scroll forever and see all kinds of cool plush. Rugrats, SpongeBob Mermaid here for $200. And we're looking at some of the higher end ones. Still, if you're finding some that sell for $30, you're getting them for 50 cents at a sale, you know, they're still worth picking up, right? Here's a Hey Arnold football head, $153.50 with 65 bids. But yeah, looking at some of these Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles plush, it's crazy. $300, $350 for this one, $221. Some of them fall off with Leonardo here, $60, $54. But even some of the figures are pretty good. The PVC figures I was seeing. I'll have to wait until eBay stops being weird and do some more research. But I only saw 3 plush currently listed, and it was Leonardo for like $60. So again, if anyone has any information on that, I would love to know. It's very intriguing. So I see a lot of Paw Patrol stuff out in the wild, and a lot of times it's pretty beat up. I don't know much about it. Some of it seems to be good, some of it not so much. One thing I've learned to look for, just a spot to kind of get my attention, is this tower, because the tower sells very well, especially complete. So if I'm at a garage sale and I see a lot of Paw Patrol stuff, and I see this tower, you know, it's worth picking up. You can see here with a bunch of extra stuff, $477. Here's just the tower. It's complete, $293. You see this one for $89.99, but if you look at the shipping, it was a $200 shipping on that. Madness. People need to work on getting your shipping correct before you sell, I think. Now here's one more reasonable, $242 with $21 shipping. So you're looking at $200 or more for sure if you can find it with the vehicles and the figures. But even just the tower, you know, might be worth picking up for a couple bucks if you happen to find it right, even if it didn't have the vehicles. And there's so many things like this you can look for that comes from Nickelodeon. You could probably do 2 or 3 more videos just going over some of this stuff. I'm honestly surprised how much I learned putting this video together. I didn't know some of this stuff, you know, had value like the magazines, but in the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff, I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that stuff because I've seen the figures before. Seems like I've even seen some plush out there. And I roll my eyes because I'm a original Turtles fan. I'm not into the new stuff. But yeah, take a look. The tower sells great. So here's just some more fun stuff. People remember the Nickelodeon Splat and the Gak. It's just kind of like this slime stuff that you would have. You could get it for like $2.99, but if you could find it now new, it's, you know, some of it will sell for $100 or more. Then I also saw this Nickelodeon toilet paper, roll still sealed, sold for $110. I imagine not too many people kept toilet paper Nickelodeon branded, so probably pretty rare to find, but still would be a really cool, fun thing to pick up and flip. Here's some more of the Splat. You're probably not going to find this used because it would dry up because it's kind of like slime type stuff, right? But still, this stuff holds value. Stickers holds value, and I love to find and sell this kind of stuff. But there it is, everybody. That's what I have to show you today. Hopefully you learned something. Let me know in the comments if all this stuff is new to you or if you're a Nickelodeon expert. Also, let me know if you found any of this stuff. I always love to hear what people are finding out there. If you think I missed a Nickelodeon item that's really cool or a bolo, let me know that. Also, hit that like button for me. Make sure you're subscribed. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, flipping_junk. And this has been Wick. Till next time.